Why do you need a go-to second Wordle word choice? Let me answer that question with another question. What do you do when your first Wordle choice yields one correct letter, or even worse, none? Several days ago, my first Wordle choice yielded one correct letter, and it was an E. A rather dismal start. After I finished groaning, here's how I addressed the situation. And by the way, you might want to stick around to the end when I discuss the one time when this Wordle strategy might need to be adjusted. Hey guys, I'm Mary Schaefer, a Wordle lover just like you, and I'm here to take a deep dive into Wordle and your second word choices. Okay, so here we go. Your second Wordle word choice, can you say that fast 5 times? Will depend on two things. How many you got right in your first guess and what your first guess was. So let's start out by analyzing how many you got right the first time. If you got 3 or more right, wow, that's impressive. And you might want to take those 3 letters and start trying to reason out your word. On 2 occasions, and I'm going to admit it was only 2, with 3 letters, I was able to get the right answer on the second choice. But 3 letters gives you a really good start. Of course, it depends upon what they are. Okay, so that's if you got 3 or more. If you got 2 or 1, or heaven forbid, none, then you need to start with a really strong second word. And let's take a look at what they are. Now, obviously, your second word will depend in a large part what your first word was. Now, even though I don't recommend starting with adieu, and we've got a separate video on picking your first word, and we'll have a link to it. I know that many people like to start with adieu because that gives them the opportunity to get 4 vowels. So if you started with adieu and you got a few vowels in your answer, okay, so you're not really worried about the vowels, you're more worried about the consonants, you want to make sure that you get words that have an R, an N, and a T, okay? And if you did get some vowels, maybe you want to work them into the answer so you're giving yourself, the most value for those choices. So some of the words, if you got a few vowels, might be rants, rents, rights, R-I-T-E-S, tires, runts, drain, and rains, okay? And the whole thing with this second choice is you're just trying to identify the correct letters. Now, if you were light on the vowels, then you might want to try and pick up that O because you're thinking, well, it was probably an O. So you might try something like riots, stone, store. Okay, so that'll pick up the missing vowel and also some of the more popular or more common letters in the alphabet. Now, if you started with a 3 vowel word, and I know some of you like to start with arise or arose, then you want to start focusing on some of the more popular consonants, and you might try things like laden, leady, laden, lordy, tails, slate, etc. Okay, now this gets a lot easier if you started with actually my favorite word, and I usually recommend that you start with stare. That's my favorite starting word, S-T-A-R-E. Although tears works almost as well, it's the same letters, but there's a theory that I've read in several places that Wordle doesn't have plurals in its answer, so putting the S at the end isn't a great choice. Of course, there are words like glass that end in S, and it doesn't make it plural. So anyway, if you started with stare or tears, to pick up your best shot in the future, you might want to try indole. Now, let's move on, and we can't move on without addressing EARNT. EARNT, technically, by my analysis, would probably be the best word to choose to get the best starting letters. But as you know, if you've listened to some of my other videos, EARNT, while Wordle accepts it, it's an acceptable Wordle word. It's considered poor English, and it means earned. And you're expected in modern day to use the word earned, to say, I earned, $25, not I earned $25. So I present this because, as I said, Wordle will take earned, and then your good second choice get word would be solid. Now, before we discuss when this strategy needs to be adjusted, and there's one really important time that it does, I'd like to invite you to subscribe. It's free, it's completely private, and you can unsubscribe at any time. And by the way, if you're watching on YouTube, you don't need a YouTube account to subscribe. You can subscribe with a Gmail account. When do we post? On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we post about accounts payable stuff, but on Saturdays, we like to have fun, and we post about Wordle, which I call my newest obsession. We've got some great tips, great topics planned for the next few weeks that hopefully will help you win more Wordle rounds, or help you win them faster. And on YouTube, if subscribers hit the bell, you'll be notified when we post new content. Okay, so when does this approach need to be adjusted? Well, remember that word that I told you, that hand recently, where in the first choice I got just one letter, it was an E. Well, in my second choice, when I went through the second round, I got an I and an O. Now, if you end up with 3 vowels, at least for me, it's really hard to figure out what the missing consonants are. And so I looked and I looked and I looked, and that's when you might want to have a third go-to word that will help you figure out those consonants. But to try and place the vowels at the same time, it would be rather difficult, or at least for me, it would be rather difficult. So by this point in time, we have a whole series of Wordle videos, and we have a playlist for them. On YouTube, a link will appear shortly to the left. And as always, we appreciate your thumbs up, your subscribes, your shares, and your comments. Good luck and happy Wordling.